The question is that the address be agreed to. Before I call the member for Hasluck, I remind the House that this is the honourable member's first speech, and I ask the House to extend to him the usual courtesies. The member for Hasluck.
Thank you, Mr Speaker. I acknowledge the traditional owners, the Ngunnawal people on whose land this great house stands, and I equally acknowledge their elders, past and present, and I want to personally thank Matilda House for the welcome to country. I also acknowledge the Noongar people of Western Australia and my elders, past and present. Their wisdom and guidance ensured that our culture, language and history has endured for 40,000 years and remains vibrant and alive today. The decisions we make determine our destiny, and the choices we make shape our personal future. Mr Speaker, it is an enormous honour that the electors of Hasluck have bestowed upon me by electing me as their representative for this term of Parliament. Only 1,093 people have been privileged to be a member of the House of Representatives. It is with deep and mixed emotion that I, as an Aboriginal man with Noongar, Yamatji and Wongai heritage, stand before you and the members of the House of Representatives as an equal. I want to reflect these feelings and sentiments so eloquently put by the two previous Aboriginal senators, Neville Bonner and Aidan Ridgway, in their maiden speeches. In Senator Neville Bonner's powerful first speech on September 8, 1971, he encapsulated the feelings that I am experiencing today. Equally, Senator Aidan Ridgway, in his speech 28 years after Senator Neville Bonner's speech, also outlined the enormity of the task that I assume as a mantle of responsibility to represent the people of Hasluck and to advocate for Indigenous Australians. Regretfully, 39 years later, I stand here and the same principles and ideals still apply. Not a great deal has changed significantly. Mr Speaker, Hasluck covers an area of approximately 227 square kilometres. It is the home to over 93,000 residents and includes the city of Gosnells, the western portion of the Shire of Kalamunda and the parts of Shire of Mundaring and the city of Swan. It is geographically and economically diverse and includes a range of industries including retail, transport and service industries and some light industries such as the coal group and Barminco, market gardens and vineyards such as the Sandalwood Winery. Rotary has an expression of service above self, and it is my intention that I serve the constituents of Hasluck by fighting for better outcomes that positively impact on their everyday life. The decision of the Hasluck electors has immortalised them for creating a historic moment in Australia's history by electing the first Aboriginal member for the House of Representatives. Researchers in the future will analyse the decision made by the people of Hasluck on August 21, 2010. What they're likely to find is that the personal and professional qualities of the candidate was the reason for their decision. I am fortunate that I have been elected as the member for Hasluck in Western Australia for a range of reasons, but more importantly because the seat is named after a man who devoted his life to public office and the matters that he sought to right. Sir Paul Hasluck entered federal politics in 1941 as the Liberal member for Curtin until 1969 and served as Minister for Territories, Defence and External Affairs. He served as a diplomat, Cabinet Minister and was the first West Australian-born Governor-General of Australia. In reading an extract of his from the House of Representatives parliamentary debate, I was struck by a couple of salient points that remain equally important today. Sir Paul Hasluck stated that the foundations of our policy are two principles, being equality of opportunity and that there should be no division into classes, but that men should stand on their own worth. There is no one-size-fits-all solution to deal with any social issue. Rather, we should look at the individual needs of the person, the family and the community. For example, the needs of the Gosnells residents differ from the needs of the Kalamunda residents in my electorate. I want no less for the electors of Hasluck the people of Western Australia and Australian society as we become immersed within a global economy. I want to achieve changes and outcomes, as I'm sure that you all equally desire, that is inclusive, because if we don't, then we have failed those who have elected us. Mr Speaker, I am the oldest child of Don and Mona Wyatt, who raised 10 children. My father served in the RAAF towards the end of World War II as a driver and left to work for the West Australian Government Railways, where he worked and ended his career as a railway ganger. In 1972, when I graduated from Teachers College, my first pay was more than what my father was earning towards the end of his career. My mother was one of the stolen generation and spent her childhood years in Roland's Mission near Bunbury in Western Australia. As a child, I used to listen to the stories shared between my mother and her brothers and sisters about growing up in the respective missions they were sent to. They reminisced about the people they grew up with outside of their own families and the family connections they re-established after leaving the mission. I often wondered about the experiences that remained locked away in their memories and not talked about. What I found even more fascinating was the blurring of the lines between real family and many others who were accepted as family, because they had shared a significant part of their childhood together in the mission. We all have vivid recollections around the way things were, but as children we didn't comprehend the significance of many actions until much later, when we were more capable of understanding the reality of life my mother experienced while she was in Roland's Mission and later as a domestic worker. My parents substantiated this when I was much older, and the missing pieces were gained through reading the numerous entries, correspondence and the field officer's reports in my mother's Native Welfare Department file. It gave us an inkling into the challenges that she faced as a child and later as an adolescent woman when she was sent out to work. The letters from her parents, or the entries made about parental contact over a period of time, clearly established the fact that her parents had not relinquished their parental rights. The apology to the stolen generation has been a powerful instrument in the healing of both our people and our nation. The apology was acknowledged and received in the spirit for which it was offered. When the former Prime Minister delivered the apology on the 13th of February 2008 in this chamber, I shed tears for my mother and her siblings. My mother and her siblings, along with many others, did not live to hear the words delivered in the apology, which would have meant a great deal to them individually. I felt a sense of relief that the pain of the past had been acknowledged and the healing could begin. Mr Speaker, at that point the standing orders prevented an Indigenous response. On behalf of my mother, her siblings and all Indigenous Australians, I, as an Aboriginal voice in this chamber, say thank you for the apology delivered in the Federal Parliament, and I thank the Honourable Kevin Rudd for honouring his commitment to the stolen generation. I hope that all governments continue to embrace new solutions to enduring problems where old approaches have failed and where enduring approaches need to change, where the future we all influence is based on mutual respect, mutual resolve and mutual responsibility. Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander people and agencies of government need to jettison the old mindsets that embody Indigenous Australians as passive recipients of government programs and services. Instead, to truly regard people as equals and allow them to be equal partners in developing their solutions. Governments must allow information to be shared so that an informed consent decision-making process is enabled. If change is to occur and become embedded and sustained, then all must be equal and active partners in all facets of planning, implementation and accountability. And I would equally apply this to all Australians that we represent. My parents instilled in us the values of having respect for others, having integrity, trusting others and accepting responsibility for our actions and decisions. We were taught that our word was to be our bond, and that prevails. However, life experiences teach you to be much more astute to those who have ulterior motives based on personal gain. I have been a battler for most of my life, but I've always driven myself to be successful in order to achieve my dreams. I used education as the way to change my life to get to where I am now, and believe that a quality education is the key to success for any young Australian. I've always been inspired by Nelson Mandela, who reinforced the importance of education with these words: "Education is the great engine of personal development. It is through education that the daughter of the peasant can become a doctor, that the son of a mine worker can become the head of the mine, that a child of a farm worker can become the president of a great nation. As the son of a railway ganger and a domestic worker who was part of the stolen generation, I am here before you today in this chamber because of the influence of education and my Year 1 teacher, Miss Abernethy. Her unfailing faith in my ability to succeed and serve Australian society resonated on the day of the election when she turned up to hand out how to vote cards for me in Maddington. This ongoing support after 50 years since I was in her class has been particularly humbling. This is why I've always believed and promoted the fact that education and access to the knowledge society involves lifelong learning. An education in Corrigin, a rural country town in Western Australia, has not been a barrier to my current achievements. The local Rotary Club, the Country Women's Association and a local businessman, Dean Rundle, combined their efforts to ensure I completed my secondary schooling. They met all of the costs associated with my schooling, the travel and the pocket money. They indicated to my parents they had great faith in the pathway and journey that I had the opportunity to travel if I was given the right support. I attended Swanley Residential College in Swan View to complete my leaving certificate, and I graduated as a primary school teacher from Mount Lawley Teachers College. My career led me to leadership roles in education and health, both in Western Australia and New South Wales. I want to say that co-chairing the COAG Hawg Indigenous Health Working Group, which achieved a $1.6 billion commitment from all jurisdictions to improve Indigenous health outcomes, is for me the jewel in the crown of my work of achievement. I was able to contribute to these positions effectively due to my life experiences. As a teenager, I would trap rabbits to put food on the table, sell the excess to the local butcher, and tan the skins to provide money for our family of 10. I would get up at 4:30 a.m, light the fire, and ride my bike to check my traps before going to school. Then after school I would chop firewood for others to earn money. On weekends and school holidays I worked in a variety of labouring roles, which included being a labourer for brickies, carpenters, plumbers and a roof tiling team. The work was hard, but I pulled my weight to earn what I was paid. I was a rouseabout on cheering teams and learnt wool classing. Experiences such as a farm labourer, a general hand in a local garage washing car parts on a cold morning in petrol, an undertaker's live-in caretaker, a fettler on the railway line and a grape picker in the Swan Valley and Caversham are not dissimilar to the experience of my electors in the seat of Hasluck. Mr Speaker, whilst I was campaigning and meeting people at front doors, I was affected by the number of ordinary Australians who struggle from day to day, and in particular the number of seniors, retirees and veterans who are struggling to make ends meet. I find this an anomaly because the wealth, prosperity and facilities that we take for granted were established and provided through the hard work and sacrifices of our elderly. Additionally, our freedom, the liberties we enjoy and the democratic processes we have today is because of our veterans and the sacrifices that they made for us. I don't want to celebrate a day or a week dedicated to seniors and veterans, but instead want to work with members of this House to find real solutions that enable them to enjoy a comfortable retirement and be financially secure. Elders within Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander societies are revered, respected and hold a special place. They do not go away but remain as wisdom givers and guides in our future. The same concept has to be applied to all seniors and retirees, and the support they require should be accorded them. As leaders, and I see all of us in this House as leaders, we need to be pathfinders so that we can accelerate the change needed to improve outcomes for our future generations. To me, pathfinders are leaders who shape the future, which is fast, fragile, fashionable and ever-changing. As a pathfinder, we forge the way forward, we draw the maps and the pathways for the future generations of Australians. As pathfinders, we have to commit to and fight for change. We have to plan for a society that should exist for all Australians in 2030 and 2050. Through my professional experience in health and medicine, health and medical treatment is an example that gives a clear understanding of the rapid impact of change. Today, modern medicine includes substantial works surrounding stem cell research, its application to repairing vital organs and body tissue, DNA profiling and health enhancement to address predispositions to diseases. This will ultimately impact on an individual's well-being and prolong the quality of life. Consider the following. In the near future, we will be able to have a 360-degree body scan that will identify every organ, blood vessel and nerve, which in turn will be stored on a computer, uploaded, and your surgery will be programmed and robotically followed through. The complex incision, treatment of body tissue and the sealing of a wound will be all supervised by a surgeon from a central control point. It sounds impossible, but imagine Henry Ford today looking at the assembly line he established. It is now that automated that he wouldn't recognise the original process upon which it was based. As pathfinders, we need to design education and training systems that are a means through which Australian societies better prepare future generations to invent a better tomorrow for themselves and their children. The opportunity to address this issue has been lost over recent times, and we need to redress the current situation so that we develop Australia's workforce with the skills required in the future. I believe that we as leaders need to be pathfinders who will use our influence at the right times for the right reasons for the good of all, not the few. That we will continue to search for the best answers and not the familiar one, because they offer the path of least resistance. That we will achieve a legacy of better outcomes for the children of the future, and that we will work for the benefit of others and not for personal gain. For all of us as pathfinders, we need to take our ideas and aspirations, act upon them, see them through success, and not give up on them when the quest gets challenging, remembering at all times we are our children's future. Mr. Speaker, I am passionate and strongly committed to working towards achieving better outcomes and opportunities for the residents of Hasluck, Indigenous Australians and Australian society, marked by justice, legitimacy, integrity and a commitment to support these essential virtues. Equally, I strongly believe that we need to provide a lifelong educational pathway that positions our young people to succeed in an ever-changing world where the quick pace of the global and technological society will be ever-present in their lives. Provide for our seniors, veterans and those living in poverty who require practical solutions to their specific needs. Provide strong and visionary leadership that forges our place in the global community as a nation of people led by many, not the few. I believe that ministers as pathfinders have the capacity to make a difference in shaping Australia's future. The greatest strength, Mr. Speaker, of Australian democracy is that ministers of any party take responsibility for the provision of services, programs and funding for all Australians based on need and not on political expediency. This thinking should extend beyond the term of a government, even though we give commitments within our election priorities. I expect that the residents of Hasluck will equally share in the evolving commitments and priorities established by ministers, and I will ensure that they will not be overlooked. My commitment is to them. Throughout the campaign and election, I was strongly supported by the Hasluck division of the WA Liberal Party and the team of volunteers who provided endless hours of support and encouragement. Mr. Speaker, in the 44th Parliament, I hope to see Aboriginal members from all parties in their place in the House of Representatives. I have appreciated the personal support given to me since the campaign by the Honourable Tony Abbott and the Honourable Julie Bishop, my patron senator, who has walked very closely with me. Senator Judith Adams was the mainstay of support that resulted in me standing here as the member for Hasluck in the chamber today. The things I have done and achieved in life are not for my own edification, but that of making a difference for others, that they may choose a destiny that meets their needs and the needs of the society in which they live. I have the experience, wisdom, fortitude and energy to take on this responsibility and to do what has to be done to make a difference for the people of Hasluck. As a pathfinder, I will focus on the present, learn from the past to shape the future for the generations to come. I want to dedicate my maiden speech because of the support that I received to my fiancée Anna and to my sons Aaron and Brendan, who continue to make me proud. Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Thank you, members.
Let me try